The Citi Strata Premier might be one of the most underrated cards right now. It has a great intro bonus, is a strong points earner, and also a great all-around option. To be fair, there are weaknesses, but you also have a lot of optionality and you can adjust if needed. Big favorite before we dive in is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Starting with the elephant in the room, we have multipliers. This is where the card shines. You're getting 10x back on hotels, car rentals, and attractions booked through citytravel.com. You get 3x on air travel and other hotel options, 3x on restaurants, 3x on supermarkets, 3x on gas stations and EV charging stations, and 1x on everything else. This card has no foreign transaction fees, but does have a $95 annual fee, but you also have a $100 credit. So this is a $100 annual hotel benefit, and it is every calendar year. The catch though is that it is only for hotel stays of 500 or more, and it has to be booked through Citi Travel. It does depend on how you travel, but you might want to discount this. For example, if you hotel hop or use points and certificates, or maybe you prefer booking directly for better multipliers with other cards. In that case, I wouldn't value it the full 100, but your mileage may vary. If you're familiar with the landscape of cards and multipliers, this card is pretty well positioned. Some other competitor cards might have similar multipliers, but might have caps of, let's say, $25,000 per year. That means that if you have very high spend, then this card is pretty good. That may be because you work professionally as a private chef, or maybe you and your family eat very well or have specific diets. Gas in particular is an interesting one. For example, this can be extremely useful if you drive for Uber. And especially if you're an owner-operator of a rig, it might be spending $50K on gas per year. Another big difference is that for a lot of the competitor cards, it's only for US versions of certain things, so US groceries or US gas stations. This makes it awesome for people that are staying longer. For example, if you want to experience a place as a local, or maybe you're a snowbird, or you split your time between two countries. The fact that you get all of this on one card, rather than piecing together a trifecta or multiple cards, is the cherry on top. The Strata Premier earns ThankYou Points, which are surprisingly flexible. With a lot of other currencies, you only get value if you travel. The moment that you try to redeem for cash back, you might only get 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. With Citi, you get fair value. You get 1 cent per point, so 1 penny per point when you redeem for cash back or as a statement credit. That means that on the low end, 3x is 3% back. You definitely can get more value, but that's expert mode, and we'll cover that towards the end. But yeah, the idea is that you're transferring points to airline partners to then redeem for first and business class flights based off their award charts. Speaking of options, you have a lot of off-ramps if the card isn't a fit. So for example, the Citi Rewards Plus is a downgrade option if the card doesn't make sense after the first year. This means that you can test drive the card and see how it works. After the first 12 months, you have that option. This includes the Rewards Plus, Double Cash, and Custom Cash. There also is a pretty good limited time offer available right now. You're going to get 75,000 bonus points after 4,000 in spend in the first 3 months. At a minimum, 75,000 points is $750 in cash back. On the top end, 75,000 ThankYou Points would be 75,000 partner points, and I'd target about 1,500 in value if you are looking to do first in business. On a side note, if you want to learn about this card or pretty much any other card out there and you want to support the channel, we do have links on the website, asksebi.com, and also down below in the description box. As always, make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise it is a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Okay, so we talked about a lot of positives. Let's look at some disadvantages. So first off, this is a mid-level travel card. Given this, don't expect lounge access. It might seem obvious, but I've seen way too many arguments at the front desk of lounges. Another big one is clarification on multipliers. For example, supermarkets does not include warehouse and wholesale clubs. So you're not going to be getting 3x back at Sam's Club or BJ's. To be fair though, that's the case for all grocery cards. They are different categories. A lot of this is how it's coded on the back end as merchant codes. Grocery stores and supermarkets are 5411, and that's what the multiplier's for. Wholesale clubs are 5300, which is different. 5299 is another one to make note of, and that's warehouse club gas. Going into Citi's terms, they mention that they exclude gas and EV charging at wholesale clubs or ones that aren't using the right merchant code. It definitely can feel annoying, but it's kind of an if this, then that type of situation. Another pro that can be a con is that this is a workhorse. So what I mean by that is that this can earn you a ton of points, but you need to put spend on the card to earn those points. So in the first year, it generally makes sense, given the intro bonus, but year 2 and onwards, it becomes a math question. With that, let's talk about break-even. So how much would you need to spend on the card in the long run for it to make sense? We can solve for that. It would solve for X, which is 3,167. At the same time, there are cards out there that get you 2% back with no annual fee. This is the idea of opportunity cost, that you'd be getting non-zero points for spending on something else. My go-to number for this on the personal side is 2% back because there's a lot of 2% back on everything cards. So that's the catch-all that we're competing against. With that, we can update the formula and solve for X again, which is $9,500. So if you spend more than $9,500 per year on those 3X categories, then it makes sense. It can get super confusing given how many variables you want to add, and this is assuming we're comparing cash back with cash back. If you're comparing expert mode of cash back, then the numbers change again. In that case, it's effectively 6% of the fee compared to 2%, and solving for that, you have 2,375. So if you value points in that way, then that's how much you would need to spend. If instead you use the Citi Double Cash as your comp, as a comparison point, then you're back at that 9,500 number. And to me, that's kind of the fair number because it's apples to apples. All of this is also ignoring the $100 annual hotel benefit, so if you do value that, then your spend number is going to be lower. Also ignoring multi-card setups because that becomes way too multivariable. The last thing I want to touch on are going to be transfer partners. Citi has a lot of partners. Some of the best ones are going to be Flying Blue, which is Air France KLM, Qantas, Singapore, Turkish, and Virgin Atlantic. This is when you take your points from Citi and then transfer them to a partner. For example, you're turning your Citi ThankYou Points into Singapore KrisFlyer miles or Flying Blue miles. I think there are edge cases, but most of the time, the value is going to come from business and first class fares. So it can work for economy as well, but the value is generally not as high, and in that case, it might not be worth your time, and the juice might not be worth the squeeze. For a lot of the good programs, the reason you get value is because the price of points is not based off the retail price, but based off the flight distance and something called an award chart. For example, let's look at the Qantas one. You can see different distances, economy, premium, business, and first. Instead of charging based off the current demands, where last minute would be more expensive, they're charging based off distance, but they'll also have availability. Economy is about 42,000 points, premium economy about 81,000, business about 109K, and first about 163, and this is for Qantas. LAX to Sydney would fall under this at 7,500 miles. For Qantas, another way to think of this is that economy is 1 token, premium economy is 2, business is 2.5-ish. So it really does depend on what you're optimizing for. Looking at the retail price, round trip to Sydney is about 1,300, so $650 per way. Compared to points price, about 42K per way and about 84 round trip. Doing the math there, you're getting about 1.55 cents per point, which is pretty good. It is specifically if you want to fly Qantas though. If you're willing to fly other airlines, then the value changes. I feel like for business, the airline matters a lot more because that's the hard product and that's the experience, but for economy, a bit less so. So for example, if you're willing to fly Fiji or American, United, or Delta, then the price goes down. In that case, you're looking at about 800 and 900, and now it becomes a bit more questionable whether you'd want to use points. It can still make sense for last minute, during holidays, or during other busy times. You do have to find availability, but you're looking for times where the price is way too high for whatever reason. In contrast, round-trip business for any airline is about 5 to 6K. If your goal was to fly Qantas business though, then you're looking at about 9K. Using Qantas miles, it's about 108K one way and about 217 round trip. Doing the math there, based off the retail price, it's about 4.2 cents per point. I feel like using those numbers always gets a little weird though, so I would think of it a different way. 217K is $2,170 in cash back. Another way to frame it is, would you consider that a good price or good deal for round trip business class to Australia? For some people, yes, that's a great deal. For other people, they'd rather do 2 trips. Or maybe end up booking player 1 and player 2 for the same trip, for the same number of points, but in economy. Generally, 2 to 3K for round trip is considered a good price. For a lot of these though, in order to not pay a premium, you do need to start from abroad, so start in Asia, fly to JFK, and then fly back to Asia if you're doing round trip. We've done those before and they're fine, pretty good deals, but you are committing to 2 trips to that place in the same year. So basically booking 1 flight over there first in order to start the leg, and that's your first vacation, come back to the US for a 6-month vacation or whatever amount of vacation, and then fly back next time, and then do a 1-way back. It gets confusing, but hopefully it makes sense. But yeah, for a lot of those, you can't reverse it, and you also cannot drop the first leg and only take the second leg. Another great example of value is Virgin Atlantic. So transferring Citi to Virgin Atlantic, and then redeeming your Virgin points for ANA, which is one of their partners. You're not transferring from Virgin to ANA for that second bit, you're calling in and having them book with their partner. As of filming, this is the current award chart. So for example, if you want to fly between Japan and Western US, you're looking at 30K for economy, 52.5K for business, and 72.5K for first class, and these are all one way. For this one, pricing is a bit different, so pretty much 1 token for economy, 2 tokens for business, and 2.5 for first. I would argue that this is one of the best first class products in the air right now, and especially so for the hard products. If you're looking to fly this and you don't want to pay an arm and a leg, then points are the best way to do it. If you're rich though and you want to drop the money, then go for it. You're generally looking at about 18K for round trip first. But yeah, if you have flexibility of travel and you don't mind doing research, I'd rather use points and miles. To me, that's how you get outsized value and how I get treated like a VIP as a P. Not for everyone, you don't have to do this, you have that option if you want to. Main takeaway, this card is a great earner. If you hate the idea of multiple cards but you still want to earn points, then this is perfect. Also great whether you're looking for cash back or upside travel. In the long term, it is targeted towards higher spenders, but in year 1, if you can hit the intro bonus, then it makes sense. Downgrade paths and optionality doesn't hurt either. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, asksabby.com, and down below in the description box. Also, in case you're curious, you can see the ad disclosure in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a kangaroo emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on the card? Number 2, how would it fit into your setup? And number 3, how would you use the points? Let me and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this. By the way, I hope you liked it. See you next time.